To recognize Retinitis Pigmentosa, or RP Awareness Month, Phill Goldberg, a patient at the Eye Institute, shared his experience with RP. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Phill Goldberg, and I live in beautiful Westmount Airy, Philadelphia.
Can you tell us your experience with RP?
My journey with RP began probably when I was a kid, but I didn't know about it until 10 years ago. And one of the original doctors that I saw asked me if I was a clumsy kid, and I said, yeah. I bumped into things. I got stitches all over my head and whatnot, but nobody knew about RP back then. And then one day, about 10 years ago, I went in for a routine eye exam at a local retail place, and they gave me a field test where you put your face into the machine and they say, push the button when you see a bright light. And I didn't see any bright lights. And they said, well, let's test the machine. They tested the machine. The machine was fine. Put my face back into the thing, no bright lights. And so he said, you need to go to a very famous Philadelphia eye hospital immediately, if not sooner, which I didn't do. And he actually filled out the paperwork that day to send to the state to take away my driving license. So I went to one doctor, and then I went to a series of doctors, and then ended up at the Eye Institute. And when they were interviewing me, and it was all becoming clear to me that I had a problem, things like I would drop something on the floor and I would have to step back, a couple of feet to find it. And bumping into things and knocking things over. If I was at a very nice dinner party and I was reaching to get my water glass, anything in the way between me and the water glass would get knocked over. So in hindsight, I realized that I had a problem with my eyes. And then they, at the Eye Institute, spent hours with me on my first visit, doing all kinds of tests. And they showed me how narrow my vision had become. And I guess without driving, and I wasn't really compensating for my peripheral field, um, I realized really how narrow it is. And so I've had a number of experiences on this journey, that have taught me how to survive it, really, and to get by. And then with the Eye Institute's help and the Pennsylvania Bureau of Blind and Visual Services, I have a lot of skills now to help me even further compensate, for just basically daily activities. With in the past year, really, I haven't left the house much except very locally. But walking along the sidewalk and not walking into a tree, and going into crowded spaces and recognizing faces, and so it's been a challenge. It's been a very big challenge. And as an adult, I had to learn new skills um, rather quickly.
Can you describe your time at the Eye Institute and the doctors that work there?
So as I mentioned, I had gone to a series of doctors before finding the Eye Institute. And what I really didn't like, and this was really my first exposure to the medical world. I'd been very healthy. Uh, I went to my doctor once or twice a year for annual visits, and maybe if I got the flu or something. So it was always in and out, and I knew what to expect. But with going to these other doctors, they spent 10 minutes with me, 15 minutes. They didn't answer questions, and I was not feeling very comfortable uh, with that experience. And I believe it was a friend of mine whose wife worked at Salis um, in Elkins Park, who said, you ought to come to the Eye Institute. And I called and made this appointment, and it was on a Saturday morning. And it was all, from that moment, it was very professional, from the phone call telling me what to expect. It was going to be 3 hours long, and bring sunglasses, blah, blah, blah. And when I walked through the door, the first person to greet me was hello and welcome. And it was very warm. And then with the insurance aspect of it, everything was explained to me. I went into the room. My first doctor was Dr. Draper, and Dr. Kenny was a student of hers at the time. And it was 3 hours it was very intense, a very intense examination. Um, I think I was showed some pictures of the inside of my eye, and everything was explained to me, and everything continues to be explained to me. And because it's a teaching institute, um, I listen in on what the exchange is between the students and the doctor, and the quizzes, and I learn a lot. And I think the education of all of this has very much helped me with the anxiety of all of this. With those first doctors, it was in and out, and yeah, there's nothing we can do for you. I'll see you in 6 months unless something happens. Um, with the Eye Institute, if I have a problem, or if I'm experiencing something, I can pick up the phone or drop an email, and I get an answer right away. And this past summer was rough for a lot of people, including myself. And I got in touch with Dr. Kenny, and I was having like a massive anxiety attack. And she was very nice and very calm, and talked me down from it. And this is the Eye Institute, and I refer people to the Eye Institute all the time, um, because it is this way, and I appreciate that. I am grateful for it.
What advice would you give to someone who might be living with RP?
The advice I would give, and everybody's different, and I'm a little bit older now, and I've had a lot of experience in my life. Um, but treat it as an educational opportunity. Learn new skills. You're going to have to learn new skills to you know get dressed, to find the back of a t-shirt without a label. Simple things like that. um, Shaving is a major challenge for me. um, I can't see a whole half of my face really. So you kind of got to learn new things, and you got to give into it a little bit. You fight it, and you do what you can do, and find people who you can talk to about it. One of the other things about the Eye Institute, back when I started, and I hope it's still continuing, is that they had a social worker network. And I spoke to two social workers at the Eye Institute, and they referred me to other people to talk to. And that was very helpful. Support groups are very helpful. People with your similar situation, getting together and talking as we are now about what you do, how you can improve your life. I have a guide dog now. And when I went to guide dog school, just about everybody in my class of about 20 people had one or another form of RP. Um, and we all talked about how you do this, how you do that. Do you miss driving? No, I don't. Where I live, fortunately, is very convenient to everything I need. Um, but how do you manage if you don't drive, and Uber gets expensive, and waiting for the paratransit, it may or may not ever show up. So we exchange ideas all the time, and I think that is really important. I'm not alone. I don't feel alone in this journey.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Go to the Eye Institute. It's a fabulous experience, and they treat you like a human, and they treat you with respect, and it's an outstanding place.
For more patient stories and information about the Eye Institute, you can visit salisuhealth.com/TEI.